Hi, welcome to Unity Spiritual Center of Lansing. I'm Reverend Sharon Ketchum, and I'm here with you for an inspirational message for this week. Something, hopefully, it will find residency in your heart and lift your spirits. But to get started today, I have a wonderful piece of music I want to share with you. It's by our friend Daniel Nahmod, and excuse me, his one of his musical partners, Nemo, and it really celebrates the heroes of this time in this world pandemic. It's called Superhero. I hope you'll enjoy it as much as I have.
I always wanted a red cape on my back. I always wanted to be the best in my pack. I always wanted to be known to be good, to be the hero of my own hood. If I could just fly, I could save everyone. Stop all the wars so nobody's gotta run. All the killing, all the crimes, pain and suffering. It's getting tougher to be buffered from it all. Are we gonna make it through? Is he gonna fly back in? 'Cause if he don't come right now, I don't think good will win. Time is running out. Do we wanna wait for him? Or is it our time now to bring the good back in? We don't have to leap tall buildings in a single bound. There's a lot of good that we can do. Standing on the ground. We don't need a jetpack suit to take us to the clouds. It's up to me and you. Right here, right now. Superhero. Na 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 na. The superhero. Whoa, 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 whoa. Superhero. Na 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 na. The superhero. Whoa, 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 whoa. The world is full of so much pain, and though I can't fly, I can do my little part here before I die, yeah. I may not win the Nobel Prize, but at least I can try to be a little more kind, spend a little more time in my changing life, yeah. Like giving a hug when somebody is down, feeding a soul when there's nobody around. Small things that can change the sound and the vibe of the spirit that can change a town. Started small, now it's touched a crowd. The crowd is growing, now the word is out that if we all do our parts, we can touch the clouds. Without a cape and a mask, we can touch the clouds. Yep. We don't have to leap tall buildings in a single bound. There's a lot of good that we can do. Standing on the ground. We don't need a jetpack suit to take us to the clouds. It's up to me and you. Right here, right now. Superhero. Na 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 na. The superhero. Whoa, 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 whoa. Superhero. Na 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 na. The superhero. Yeah, it's the smallest things that make a difference, and all the power's locked within us. All we gotta do is find the key and turn the latch and set it free, yeah. We don't need to be fast and strong, 'cause a kind word can go a long way. Help someone whose faith is gone to get back up and carry on. Maybe it's too hard to understand, think it's too much for us to handle, but I promise you that you can, 'cause you don't need to be a Superman. We don't have to leap tall buildings in a single bound. There's a lot of good that we can do. Standing on the ground. We don't need a jetpack suit to take us to the clouds. It's up to me and you. Right here, right now. Superhero. Feeding the soul when there's nobody around. Superhero. And the vibe of the spirit that can change a town. Superhero. The crowd is growing, now the word is out that if we all do our parts, we can touch the clouds. Without a cape and a mask, we can touch the clouds. Yep.
We are certainly in a world of superheroes. The great thing is you and I can be a superhero too, just by wearing our mask when we go out. We can protect each other. Even without a cape, we got it down. Stronger together. Well, we have been in a series that started a couple weeks ago about the trance of scarcity. All of us having this inherent need to belong. But very often we feel like we're outside of the circle. And all we need to do to go inside the circle to belong is our consent, to really recognize that we are one with every other living thing in the universe. And the spiritual practice for last week was to really check on the stories that we're telling ourselves and start choosing language that's lavish and big and expansive and connected, as opposed to stingy language, limiting language, language for things that we really don't want. Kind of change that story. I came across a quote this week that has really touched me. It's by Pema Chodron, and she said, "You are the sky. Everything else is weather." You are the sky. Everything else is weather. We know weather is constantly changing, constantly. It never is the same, and we can't even predict it. It's just like life. We are the sky, this wonderful palette, but everything else is weather, this moving across. And, very often our stories get caught up with the idea that it's about the stuff that's around us, the conditions, the outer circumstances, when in truth, the real story is always about the state, our state of mind, our state of consciousness, our state of physicality. All these stories that we tell ourselves are energetically homed within our physical body. They are vibrations within the very cells of our body, the organs of our body. As we think, so we are. I mean, it is just, there is no separation. James Joyce, in one of his writings, said, Mr. Duffy lived a short distance from his body. Lived a short distance from his body. Are you hearing that right? About be honest with yourself. How many times or how much of your life do you spend living a short distance from your body, just a little bit away? Sometimes it's like we get into the story of mind over matter, that if we think the thoughts, we can overcome our body, that our body is like something separate, something, an object that we need to control. But the Greeks really saw it. They had I think, a much better and truer insight into it. It's called the soma, and that's about the wholeness of self, not just the spiritual self, not just the emotional self, not just the intellect, but also the physical self, that this is one organism, that we cannot separate ourself from our physicality. It is all one. We have different words for it. We may think of it differently, but in truth, it is an integrated organic system. So the Greeks came up with some exercises to work with, to enhance what they call the four aspects of the soma, the wholeness of ourself. Our physical body, that it be fit and strong. Emotionally, that we're balanced and mature. Mentally, that we're alert and agile, that our mind can still learn, that it's still teachable, pliable. And that we have a sense of spirituality, of our moral order about ourselves. And they really believed, and we find it true today, that all of these things, when we do certain exercises, the habits we have of thinking and of being actually impact our nervous system. They impact every part of this physical self. And I think many of us need to come to terms with the idea that our body is not an object to be managed. Our body is part of our wholeness, part of our soma. It's got so many times that we feel separate from our body, or instead of in cahoots with our body, we're kind of adversaries with our body, that we don't even trust our body. All of us have those gut reactions where we know something is right or something is wrong, or the chills at the back of our neck, or just something we feel inherent within our bones, and yet we write it off, thinking, no, it must be something else. condition, the weather, the barometer, whatever it is, instead of listening to our body that is always speaking to us because it's part of us, just as our heart speaks to us, our intuition is always speaking to us. And when we talk about the body, it's not that we're focusing on a certain appearance, a way of being, or a certain level of fitness. It's understanding that how we have manifested physically is part of who we are, is part of our mind, it's part of our emotion, it's part of our spiritual nature. Think of it this way. The body is not a taxi for the mind. This body, this vessel, is not just a carrier for our thinking nature, for our feeling nature. No, it is part of all of them. And our stories that we hold in our mind are reflected within our body, within our muscles, within just every part of our body. And think about it. You may have had things happen to you because it's always, we think it's about the state or the stuff out there, the circumstances that surround us, the weather, if you will, those things that pass, but they still have an impact on us, like a tornado going through, destroying a house that needs to be rebuilt. And I myself find that, since the fire with the church last year, when I smell smoke, I get some triggered reactions. I may get some sweaty palms, a little anxiety. Or I went through a time where I'd had a couple bad airplane rides. We had hit an air pocket going from, I think it was Connecticut to New York. It really dropped a long ways, and it gave me a real start. And then we lost hydraulic fluid on another flight and going into Atlanta. And after that, for a while, every time I got in a plane, these old stories kicked in, and I would be like this the whole plane ride. I would be, holding on to those arms really tight. I was having this physical reaction to a story that happened in the past, but yet was so ingrained in my body. I would have the emotions again. I would oftentimes go through that flight with tears in my eyes because the story was living itself out through our body. And what happens when we relive those stories? We crunch. You know what it is to crunch? Like you just kind of make yourself smaller. It's like a protective stance. Your arms often go across your chest, or you just may make yourself smaller in your chairs, fold yourself in, and your breathing becomes shallow. And we have all practiced this constriction. We have ways of making ourselves smaller because somewhere in the story, smaller means safer. Like, I don't know, the universe can't see us. There's a story we've made up that we have a physical reaction to. And when we contract, when we crunch, when we tighten all of our muscles, it tightens also the internal organs. It just has an amazing limiting effect. Our breathing gets shallow. We know deep breath is one of the most important things that we can do to really enjoy and be in this life. The mind and the body are so interconnected. They inform each other. And there are actually like brains within our muscles that our body can respond with by even circumventing the brain. If we run into a bear in the woods, we're not going to think, oh, that's a bear. A bear can be dangerous. Is that a black bear or a brown bear? No, we see that our muscles automatically go into a running phase to protect us. And within this system, within our organs and cells and all the different hormones and all the stuff running through our body, we have some amazing connective devices in there too. There's limbic resonance. Now the limbic system is a thing next to the adrenals in the back of our head, and it works in with our feelings. But we have found through studies, we being scientists and stuff, I wasn't in on the studies, that mammals actually find a resonance with each other, so that for those that we know well, we can walk into the room and without anything being said, nothing going through our mind, our thinking nature, we can know how they're feeling. We can know that something's off or something good has happened. And it doesn't just have to be a human. It can also be a pet. Many of us have, pets that, boy, we come home and if we've had a hard day, they know it and they're over there comforting us. Or if we're happy, they're all excited. They don't even know what to be excited about, but they are in this resonance with us. It's that same kind of resonance that is between our body and our thoughts and our emotions, that this is one living, interconnected organism. And because we feel this contraction within our body so many times, we feel we need to protect ourselves. There are things that we can do to calm down the system. And we know what they are. We know that those moments of prayer, some silent meditation can certainly help calm us down. We also know there's movements that we can do, because remember, it's connected. It doesn't just have to be in the silence and in the stillness. Movements like yoga. We did a movement this week at UWM board meetings, and it was called the heart mudra. And the first finger goes down, and then our thumb reaches to these two fingers. And that energy has an impact on our body right through to our heart. It was just a really, holding that for a while, what an interesting thing to feel, that connection. Daniel Ammon, he's documented some of these experiences of these limbic structures that he really can prove that following yoga or a rapid eye movement treatment or things like heart dance, like Winnerly does, that actually has an impact on our overall well-being. It kind of soothes us and calms us in really ways that are beneficial to our health. But this whole thing of contracting, it certainly comes from an evolutionary trait where we needed to, if we're being attacked by a wild animal, by scrunching up and protecting ourselves, we're protecting our vital organs, we have a better chance of survival if we can't run away. But these constrictive protective devices are only meant for brief periods of time. And when we find ourselves in a position like this pandemic, all of a sudden we're going 7-8 months, and we know there's months ahead of us to go. And we know that we really can't survive or thrive to our utmost if we stay in this contracted, limited position. The longer that we lack connection, we really will suffer from our health, both physically and mentally. So one of the things that we can do right here and right now, as you are looking at me and I am looking at you, we can feel the connection energetically. Though we are not there to physically hug one another, we can be there in heart and mind. And in that, we can also feel it within our body. Feel the presence. If I'm sitting right in front of you and you are sitting right in front of me, there is nothing to separate us. We are one. Just take that breath. Can you feel that ease? Isn't that kind of fun, just sitting next to friends that we haven't seen in person for a while and just feeling them energetically? Because when we're separated, boy, the stories that can start filtering in. If we're not there physically, all those things that we did, our friendships, are they still intact? Well, so-and-so hasn't stopped by the house in a long time. Well, of course not, because we have been asked to physically distance. Even our family, if we hadn't seen them for a while, are things still okay? So we need to find ways to make those connections on all different levels. And at the start of the service, in our opening, when we do those self-hugs, it's really important that we allow our mind to step into that story as if we are giving that hug to ourselves that we need to give to somebody else, so that we have that connection that will help us thrive. In New Guinea, there's a proverb that says, knowledge is only a rumor until it's in your muscles. It's only a rumor until it's in our muscles. That we need to, and we know these truths, we need to live them so much that they actually become part of our physical being, because there is not this separation from mind for body. Our body is not a taxi for our mind. So we need to really incorporate the idea that it's not mind over matter, that our thinking can overpower our body, our physicality, our desires, but it's a way of working together, so there's a really sense of thriving. Now, we've all heard that our traditional response to an emergency, to what appears to be a dangerous situation, be it physical danger, emotional danger, intellectual danger, is fight, flight, or freeze. But I'm here to tell you today there's a fourth one that we don't talk about nearly enough, and that's flow. The universe is not out to get us. The universe is out to support us. But too often our story goes back to the universe is against us. We have to struggle. We have to really work hard in order to thrive. And that's not where it is at. What I think it is about awakening to this moment, to where we are. To just At any time, just take a moment and see what kind of state you're in. Not the stuff that's happening out there, but the state of mind you're in. And then make a conscious choice to be in the flow, to not fight it. When something uncomfortable is happening, there is no, if we resist it, it persists. Resist, what you resist persists. But if we can step into the flow and not be resistant to it, it's like standing in a very strong stream. If you try to stand right where you are and fight the flow, it takes a lot of energy and you'll be beat up as stuff pounds into you on the way down. But when you let go and go with the flow, yeah, it may be a little bumpy on the way, but you will arrive at a new place, a new way of being. The same way with circumstances. It's never about the outer stuff. It's always about the state within, the state that we find ourselves in. And it's about getting rid of those old self-sabotaging tendencies that hold on to the old stories that, yes, I have to suffer. Yes, I have to have pain. I have to stand here and take it. No, we can let go and go with the flow. A state of the flow is simply finding this moment rewarding. We may not like the stuff around it. We may not like the other circumstances, but I can assure you there's something you're learning. I can assure you there's some place that you are growing, that someplace you are strengthening. Remember, you are the sky. The rest is weather. It's just moving on. And life is not neat and tidy. In case you didn't notice, it is messy. It's like eating a juicy, juicy peach. It tastes so good, but at the same time, that juice comes rolling down your chin, your throat. It's sticky. It's all over your clothes. It is messy, but it's also enjoyable with the juiciness. Just takes some work to clean up afterwards. So it is with life. To really enjoy the juiciness of it, there's also going to be some cleanup work. So know that we cannot make life behave. No matter how much we think we can control life, we cannot make life behave. We are going to have to deal with the twists and the turns, the stuff out there. The weather going by doesn't stay, the conditions don't change, they always pass. And then we need to start awakening to ourselves about what state are we in response to this stimuli, in response to this weather going by. What is our story about what is happening? And what is our soma? How are we inhabiting ourselves within the story, within these circumstances? So we want to be able to respond to life. And the only people that don't respond to life are those that are dead. So becoming aware of what story are we telling ourselves? What's going through? Is this another fabulous growth opportunity? Or is this something that, once again, I'm a victim? And then how is our body responding? Are we feeling very in danger and crunched up and tight and tense? Are we willing to take that deep breath and be strong and brave and to breathe into the moment so that we can go with the flow? Being in the flow is embracing life even when we don't like the stuff that's out there. And I will tell you this, that if you find yourself contracting to whatever those circumstances are, there is a reset button. A lot of people don't realize this, but always, every day, we get a chance to reset the button, to go back to one. Anne Lamott wrote that perfection is the voice of the oppressor, enemy of the people. It will keep you cramped and insane your whole life. So if you are in the mode, in the story, that you can control life totally, that you can keep things in this very narrow path so it's controllable, know that that is the oppressor that is absolutely going to make you insane. You cannot control it, but you can always reset yourself. Just like the weather goes by and changes, you can always reset how you are doing things. Learning to tolerate the messiness of life, learning to perhaps even enjoy the imperfections of life, life's little juicy secrets. That it is very interesting. It will not allow you to get bored. So we want to ease into being in the flow, because I tell you, you cannot control going into the flow. Little by little, you'll find ways to breathe a little deeper, to sit back, relax the muscles a little bit more, step by step, letting go of the flight, not running quite so fast, putting down your fists, you're not fighting quite so hard. and starting a little movement so you're not in a total freeze, so that you can find yourself in the flow gradually, ease and grace. You cannot control the release. But here's what you can do to help you get there gently, being gentle on yourself. Ask yourself, what do I care about? What matters to me? Because whatever time we can ask ourselves those questions, what do I care about? What matters to me? We remove ourselves from the fascination from the stuff out there, from the circumstances, and bring ourselves back into a place where we can control our state of being. Control in the sense of we choose our state of being. We can choose to be in the flow, to participate even as we are the observer. What matters to me deeply? This brings us back into a place where we can be authentic with ourselves because we are responding to what matters the most to us. There's a saying about sometimes we become unglued. And when stress happens, and a world pandemic is certainly a big stressor, and then you topple on all the other stuff that happens with it, we can certainly become unglued. But the great thing about becoming unglued, when you're unglued, you become unstuck. You are no longer stuck in that old story. You have a chance to take the pieces and put them all together differently. It's a simple two-step process. We need to attend and we need to adjust. We attend by giving attention to how we are in this moment here. I think I have a slide on this that I can share with you. Yes, here we go. To attend is becoming aware of where a lot of times we aren't aware of ourselves, be aware of your body. Just, feel where's your shoulders, your elbows. How do your hands feel? Sometimes our hands are really all tight. We don't realize it. Our eyebrows get tighter, even our ears. I love when I get a massage and I do my ears. I'm always amazed at how tense they get. And our facial expression, are we stuck in a scowl there? Is our breathing really shallow? And we kind of show that attention. We attend to our physicality because that's reflecting the story that we're telling ourselves. And then we adjust. Deeper breath. And here's an idea, cooperate with gravity. Sometimes we unconsciously fight gravity, but if you're standing, to really feel the weight on your feet, or sitting in a chair, just allow the chair to support you. Allow all your weight to be there in your seat and your thighs, you're sitting in the chair. And then as you're being there present, allow your state to be its full state. Feel the energy emanating off you. Feel the love, the courage that's coming from the center of your being, that it is just growing and enlarging. And instead of this tiny scrunched up being, you find yourself expanding and at ease because you stand in the flow. So spiritual practice for this week is to join AA. Attend and adjust. Just see if you check in with yourself from time to time and what's your body doing? What stories are you telling yourself? And then make the adjustments so that you are in the flow. And I put this little optical illusion up here because this is how easy it is to change your attention, to readjust how you're being. As you look at this figure, it will all of a sudden change from going clockwise to going counterclockwise, or vice versa. If it's going the same direction all the time, then I can just look away for a second. All of a sudden, she turns around and she's circling the other way. That is how simple it is to be in the flow. Just pay attention, attend to it, and make the necessary adjustments to see the truth in the situation. Deep breath together. Now we're going to take a little time to express some gratitude. This ministry is just so blessed to be supported by you in so many ways. And I'm particularly excited that this half of the year that we are supporting such wonderful organizations with our tithes, Punks with Lunch, which helps the homeless people, Rise, which supports those in recovery, and the Sunrise Movement, which supports our earth. Of course, we also tithe to Unity Worldwide Ministries and Silent Unity and our Unity Worldwide Spiritual Institute education. That's all available to all of you too. And I really want to thank everyone who either donates electronically or sends checks into our offices, because it does make this possible for us to keep happening in magical, mystical ways. I'm just amazed that here we are together. Somebody might say we're in different places or different times, but in truth, we are together right now here in this holy moment. And now we also want to celebrate our prosperity, because I know that you have had some wonderful gifts this week. I know that there have been trees showing off for you, showing off their autumn and oranges and yellows. There's been magnificent sunsets. There's been brilliant evening skies. There have been phone calls and gifts that were special to you like they would be to no one else. And so we just take this moment to bless all those things that have flowed into us as we affirm together, divine love through me blesses and multiplies all I am, all that I have, all that I give, and all that I receive. I praise, give thanks, and am glad. So very glad. Have a prosperous week, folks. And we're going to complete this section of our service with our traditional song, I Choose Love, because this is the one power that expands our intelligence, expands our well-being, expands our health like no other. Take the hand of the person next to you, or if no one's next to you, take your own hand. Touch God's holiness.
Peace in my life is growing because I choose love. Love's always present, it's what I'm made of. I choose love. We are a part of each other. We are one. One tie that binds us, that can't be undone. I choose love. I choose love. Peace in my family